Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at today's session of the National Economic Council meeting, various issues were discussed and various decisions were reached that will affect the lives and economic well-being of our dear citizens, and among which is a presentation of preliminary assessment of impact of flood disaster across the country. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you will recall that on the 128th session of National Economic Council meeting held on 20th of October 2022, the then chairman of Nigeria Governors Forum and the former governor of Sokoto State, Right Honorable Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, drew the attention of the Council to the devastating effect of the 2022 flooding, which affected about 31 states of the Federation, that had resulted in the loss of over 600 lives, displacement of millions of people, destruction of hundreds of thousands of houses, submersion of thousands of hectares of farmlands, and appeal for urgent intervention from the federal government to address the impact of the menace on the people and infrastructure. Consequently, the Council resolved to set up a 5-man ad hoc committee on flooding, comprising of the governors of Jigawa State, Kogi State, Anambra State, Bayelsa State, Lagos, and Yobe. The following were also co-opted into the committee: the Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget, and National Planning, the Honorable Minister for Water Resources, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management, Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, DG National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA. The terms of reference of the committee was to review the current flooding situation in the country and design a template for compensation of victims. The committee had, in its inaugural meeting of 10th November 2022 at the Nigeria Governors Forum, highlighted all of these challenges in the meeting, and the following were reached. The committee acknowledged the urgency of the assessment and hence the need to expedite action in order to table a draft report at the next NEC meeting. The committee acknowledged the urgency of the assessment and hence the need to expedite action in order to table a draft report to the NEC meeting. A subcommittee was constituted to propose the modalities to address imminent flood crisis due to the flooding and possible source of funding for palliatives and distributed to the victims. The subcommittee was to be chaired by the Executive Governor of Kebbi, and the following were the members: Ministry of Agriculture, like I mentioned earlier. NEC Secretariat was asked to develop and forward a template with accompanying letter to all the affected states to collect data on preliminary assessment of the impact of the flood in the affected communities, harmonize the data, and produce report of their findings to the committee. After concluding the early report of the committee, state by state, geopolitical zone by geopolitical zone, there are limitations to the exercise. The exercise would have been more successful and effective if all the affected states had responded and well due and according to the provision made in the template. That is, it would have been a success if all the states followed the template that was proposed. Some of the limitations include delay or non-submission of field template by the various states or some of the states that were affected. Then only 16 out of the total number of affected states forwarded their submission to NEC Secretariat to date, as expected. About 15 others were yet to do so. The submission from defaulting states are being awaited as we speak. Some of the states that submit did not fully comply with the requisition of the template, thereby making some of their submissions difficult to process by the automated system that was developed by the NEC Secretariat. Only few states reached out to the Council Secretariat Technical Committee for possible guidance and assistance in the exercise. States were encouraged to advance to the Secretariat all of the requisitions so that we can address the menace. Recommendations. The plight of the victims of the unfortunate flood disaster across affected states of the Federation could be alleviated if the much needed intervention from the federal government materialized without further delay. There is therefore the need to expedite the release of funds to affected states as recommended by the designated committee constituted by the federal government to that effect. This will go a long way in addressing the needs of the victims as well as offset debts incurred by some states to some citizens. NEC Secretariat and officials of the Office of the Vice President is mandated to visit the affected state for the on-the-spot assessment of the situation on ground. The exercise will authenticate the data submitted by the states to determine their needs and possible intervention. The federal government's immediate intervention to be expeditiously carried out by NEMA, Ecological Fund Office, and other related or relevant agencies. States are to ensure maximum cooperation. Council resolution, NEC resolve as a structure and sustainable adoption measures for the citizens in mobilizing resources to them and to stem the tide of this flooding. There's need to look beyond NEMA. NEMA to attain the immediately come up with how to attain the situation with timeline. Ecological fund to be made known to NEC so as to assist the NEMA and all the states. The Secretary to NEC to come up with immediate recommendations on the roadmap to address the flooding. It was equally discussed that climate change is a reality, and flooding has come to stay. And therefore, federal government and states and all other agencies, including donor agencies, local and international, should come together to address all of these challenges. Also discussed and presented at the NEC is excess crude account from 19th of July to 14th of August 2023 to be 473,754.9 $57. Stabilization account from 18th July to 14th of August to be 30 billion 346,557,405 naira 12 kobo. Natural resources account from 18th of July to 14th of August 2023 stands at 115 billion 175,616,159 naira 46 kobo. Let me take it again. Natural resources account from 18th July to 14th of August 2023 stands at 115 billion 175,616,159 naira 65 kobo. Thank you very much.